Previously, we divided x squared plus 5x plus 7 by x plus 2 using the normal technique of division. Now let us solve the same problem using synthetic division. This process involves a few simple steps which we will write on this notepad. The first step is to write the dividend in the index form. It means that we have to write all non-negative powers lower than the highest power 2. We can see that all powers are present, 2, 1 and 0, which means that it is already in its index form. Next, we write down the coefficients of the polynomial. Remember, we write the coefficients only after we have written the polynomial in the index form. The coefficients are 1, 5 and 7. The first two steps are very simple. After the index form, we just write the coefficient form. Next, we find the value of x after equating the divisor to 0. The divisor is x plus 2. So if we equate x plus 2 to 0, then x would equal minus 2. What do we do with this value? We draw two lines here and write minus 2 outside. When you draw lines, remember to leave some space under the coefficients. Now we copy the first coefficient as is and write it here. As the first coefficient is 1, we write a 1 here. The 4 steps we performed were very simple. After the index form, we wrote the coefficients here. Then we equated the divisor to 0 and wrote the value of x here. And then we just copied the first coefficient as is. The next step involves multiplication. But what do we multiply? We multiply these two numbers and write the product here. We multiply minus 2 and 1 and write minus 2 here. In the next step, we perform addition. We add these two numbers and write their sum here. 5 plus minus 2 equals 3. From this step of addition, we again go back to the previous step till we reach the last term. Next, we multiply these two numbers and write the product here. We multiply 3 with minus 2 and write minus 6 here. And then we add these two numbers to get 1. After this addition, because it is the last term, we do not go back to multiplication. And guess what? This number that we get in the end is our remainder. I write the step as box remainder. The number in the box is the remainder. But wait, where is the quotient? Now we arrive at the last step. We write the remaining coefficients in the coefficient form. So we can write it as 1, 3 in brackets. What is 1, 3 in the index form? Yes, 1, 3 is x plus 3 in the index form. 1 is the coefficient of x and 3 the coefficient of x raised to 0. This is our quotient. We simply wrote the remaining coefficients in coefficient form and converted it into index form. Now we have the quotient and the remainder. We can write our dividend x squared plus 5x plus 7 as x plus 2 multiplied by x plus 3 plus 1. Divisor multiplied by quotient plus remainder. Let's quickly review the process. After the index form, we wrote the coefficients here. We equated the divisor to 0 and wrote the value of x here. Wrote the first coefficient as is. Multiplied these two numbers and wrote the quotient here. Added these two numbers and wrote the sum here. As it's not the last term, we multiply these two numbers and write the product here. And then we added these two numbers to get 1 as the sum. The last term becomes the remainder. Writing these two coefficients in index form gives us the quotient. And yes, the remainder of 1 also tells us that x plus 2 is not a factor of the polynomial.